Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back on another video from Mother's Basement, and I've been wanting to react to this for ages, but people told me I'd have things spoilt, so apparently now I'm in the safe zone. I think I was in the safe zone a while ago, but I've just carried on. I'm currently in the Wano arc. I've just started it, absolutely loving it, and I absolutely love the world building within One Piece, and I really want to see what Mother's Basement has to say, because the world building is incredible. It's awesome. Every single story just builds upon stuff, and there's so much mystery. You learn things everywhere you go. There's like history within that place you go to, and then somehow things are linked with... let's just get into it. The wonderful world building of One Piece. Just a lot, sounds like a lot of W's, but One Piece is actually an O, isn't it? I love the alliteration.
It has been a minute since I
There we go.
about One Piece, but
Here's his character design video. That was class.
Progress bar of this video didn't assure you already.
That was cool.
That's not for lack of things to say. During and after the creation of that first video, I fell deep into this series.
Hell yeah, it happens.
After the time skip gave me an excuse to take a break.
God.
The trouble is, by the time that happened, there were just so many topics swirling around in my head that I didn't know where to start.
Yeah.
One Piece is just too powerful for its own good.
It is. It's so amazing.
Nothing else like it. Closing in on 20,000 pages of gorgeous, charming manga illustrations, all rendered in service of some of the funniest, most imaginative and compelling writing in the business.
It's incredible. It really is incredible.
Marineford. It kind of sounds like you're exaggerating or making things up to justify the frankly absurd amount of time you've invested into it already.
Hey, I've loved every single minute.
Really that good. I mean, here I am thinking about doing it all again. I need to go back and reread some earlier sagas to jog my memory for future video essays.
Right.
But also, I just miss those parts of this
The journey's been incredible. Everything's so good.
One Piece isn't just a very good, very long story. It's a place built of words, ideas, and images that you get sucked into.
It is a world.
Stuck in. I have been isekai'd by this damn manga. We One Piece fans are all trapped in another world.
Yes, we
Seriously,
are. We
you're still
can't
on the
get
outside,
out.
I am
Don't want to.
warning you, do not come in here. It is as inescapable as Impel Down. Just look at that last sentence. I can't even form similes that make sense to the outside world.
Impel Down is pretty hard to get out of type.
What a world I'm in now. A sprawling and sparkling sea of possibilities stretching out in all directions as far as the eye can see and beyond. Each new land over the horizon promising stranger sights and more thrilling adventures than the last. Eiichiro Oda does not waste the vast volume of volumes this manga takes up. He uses every page and panel he can to expand on and enrich this fantastical universe, detailing its twisted and complex history, the systems that govern it, and the infinitely varied cultures and peoples that inhabit its isolated islands.
And everything is so well thought out.
Worlds in fiction as colossal,
everything makes sense everywhere you go. The way people act with each other in that, it's like,
stories with this many moving, interlocking parts. It is matched only by absolute titans of genre fiction. Dune, The Lord of the Rings, The Universal Century, Earthsea, and understanding the scope of that world and how Oda went about constructing it is one of the keys to understanding how this series has managed to stand as the king of our world's most competitive comic market for over 2 decades now.
Incredible how long it's been going for, isn't it? It's like, whoa.
Ways past the series halfway point, so my own comprehension of that world is far from complete. But the relatively light and breezy half-world of Paradise is gonna give me more than enough to talk about until Oda's finished filling in the rest.
Right.
As is advisable with most things this huge and deep, One Piece drops us in at the shallow end, though you wouldn't know it to look around. East Blue is already a wild and wacky place full of
but my god, there's so much more to come.
Concepts and big ideas. Separated by unruly expanses of ocean, each island Luffy visits on his quest to recruit a crew has its own unique identity.
Everywhere they go is different, man. It just stands out. Yeah.
Customs, yet they are all connected by trade and travel, not to mention their shared reliance on the Navy for protection. For there be pirates in these here waters.
There are.
Scalawags
a lot of them.
whose names alone make made civilized folk quake with fear. Iron Mace Alvida, Don Krieg the Invincible, Kuro of the 100 Planets.
I hope he comes back at some point.
Capable of devastating a whole island community on
They all
their
had such
own,
interesting
and those
backstories,
are
and it's just like,
regular
right.
folk. Scariest of all,
But then it just shows how much it escalates as you go on.
Scariest of all is Arlong, a
Oh
mighty
my god,
Vishnu
he was so
warrior who
intimidating.
can throw a whole house one-handed and seeks to one day subjugate every human.
And then when you find out with him later on, it's like, oh, makes sense.
Races rule. Though that is but an echo of a much
Yeah.
greater injustice,
In Fishman
the
Island.
scale of which won't become apparent for hundreds of chapters.
It's
yet.
yeah, it is like
This
literally
arc
hundreds of
also
chapters later, isn't it? It's like,
introduces us to
whoa.
these things called devil fruits, naturally occurring magical treasures of the sea that render those who eat them unable to
swim in the sea.
but in exchange transform those people into, well, just about anything you can imagine.
There is
From
a
stretchy
lot
inflatable
of
rubber
different
man
abilities
to
out there.
living avatars of the elements to battle furries. These fruits range in
Battle
potency,
furries indeed.
but even the most seemingly simple power, like detachable limbs, can be deadly in the wrong disembodied.
Yeah, if you
And
can
Buggy
work
the
upon your
Clown
abilities,
is
can't you?
but
It's like,
one superpowered pretender of many to the long empty throne of the pirate king, Gold D. Roger, who kickstarted this new golden age of piracy with his final breath on the executioner's block, where he declared to the world that all his treasure could be found where he left it
in one piece.
waiting at the end of the fabled Grand Line. But that's a long ways off when we first hear of it.
Oh,
For
yeah.
100 chapters, 2 years of publication, East Blue was the entire world.
Oh my god,
for
it was
Luffy
that
and his
long.
crew.
Whoa.
From the traveling restaurant Barati to the weird island of rare animals that the
Oh yeah, that guy stuck in the box.
calls home, to the bustling, danger-fraught streets of Rogue Town, it feels to a new reader like a place with endless potential for future adventure.
Yeah.
But then,
We go
at long
further.
last, the Straw Hats
To the
reach
Grand
the
Line.
starting line of their real journey, and the looming scale of this whole thing becomes frighteningly apparent
Oh, yeah.
for the first time. East Blue is a tutorial zone larger and more
That's a good way of
detailed
putting it,
than the
isn't it?
full
Yeah.
worlds of many other manga. It exists to give the Straw Hats a place to find their footing before thrusting them into the unpredictable insanity of the Grand Line, and it serves a similar purpose for us as an audience. It establishes the essential high concepts that will define combat and conflict throughout the series, including one that a lot of people mistake for a retcon because after the first chapter it doesn't explicitly come up again for another 200 or so. Everything you need to know to follow the series fights is laid out here in detail, along with the power dynamics
Dragon.
that shape its grander conflicts. We learn that there are pirates both virtuous and villainous in this world, and that they all exist in defiance
Mihawk's
of
very
a
confusing.
massive military superpower whose reach spans all the shining seas. That power appeals
Cody.
to young idealists who believe the heroic
He's so
hype
cool
of
now.
propaganda about bringing order to the oceans, while higher-ups with fewer scruples use its authority to control and terrorize ordinary folk. And when it's profitable, they'll even turn a blind eye to pirates.
Yes,
saying,
they're meant to be the
"It's
good
a little
guys, man."
funny to front-load all this exposition, but it's also necessary, because the Grand Line operates on its own complicated layer of rules.
It's not an
that
easy way
serves
to get
make
around.
Each island within it a world unto itself. And the series needs all the breathing room it can buy itself to explore those wildly varied settings. At the same time, delaying its introduction by 100 chapters sets the Grand Line up as this
Yeah, it
legendary
makes it
place
seem
that the
like
end of
it
the
is
map reveals.
just
A
ginormous, and it
gauntlet
is.
chews up and spits out all but the hardiest
It's gonna be
pioneers, a
difficult,
goal
man.
unto
Oh yeah,
itself.
Mihawk's there. He's like,
But
oh.
it's only
Before they get in there,
legendary
yeah,
until Oda
because he's
makes
come
it
back from
real.
there.
And by spending the next 20-some-odd years fleshing out that place, I think it's safe to say that he managed to pay off that build-up. And then
Definitely,
some.
Jesus.
So, what makes the Grand Line so special? Where do I even begin? I guess it might help to define it. The Grand Line is a stretch of sea that straddles the entire equator, its current running perpendicular to the Red Line, rocky monocontinent that also encircles the globe north to south. Together, these lines split the rest of the world into four vast
yeah.
oceans.
Got northeast, southwest,
east,
yeah.
south,
And they were in
west,
the East Blue.
and North Blue, that are physically separated from the Grand Line by the calm belts, which sound pretty pleasant, right?
No.
Well, the calm belts are actually the scariest places on the planet. Nothing but miles upon miles of dead, sunny ocean where no winds blow above the waves, and those waves only roll in the first place because of the coiling bodies of countless colossal sea kings nesting just beneath them.
Yo.
They're a sailor's worst nightmare, but they've got nothing on the strange sea that lies between them, which can only be accessed in one direction by sailing
upwards.
up a mountain. And that is just the start of the weirdness. East Blue operated like one would expect an ocean to operate.
Yeah.
Or at least a cartoon fantasy ocean full of delightful half-flamingo sea monsters. Tides roll, compass points north, wind blows...
As soon as you get to the Grand Line, it's like, oh, compass is moving all over the goddamn place.
Why fix what ain't broke, say you? What? Eiichiro Oda calls back from deep within the bowels of the mechanics of seafaring, where he sits tinkering like a madman. See, you don't just get two straight lines of eternally still seawater out of nowhere. That's just not how weather or oceans work.
No.
And the cause of the calm belts seems to be a clash between the normal oceanic atmosphere of the blue seas and whatever crazy bullshit is happening in the Grand Line. Here, you can be sailing under warm, sunny skies one minute and crashing up against ice floes
Yep, the next you are freezing, my god. Then it's hail, then it's rain,
stuck in winter, spring,
oh,
summer, and
the
fall,
sunny.
each of which experiences its own
No, the
seasonal
merry-go,
cycle
the
with
merry.
rest of the globe.
Jesus,
Meaning
we're on the
there
sunny
are a
now.
total of 16 different seasons to contend with in these waters. Such wild, localized variation in temperature and pressure causes the winds of the Grand Line to blow every which way, while sea currents swirl unpredictably below. It's easy to get lost in these waters,
Definitely.
and easier still to die if you try
That's why
to
you need
navigate
the,
them without the right
what's the thing that
skills
Naomi wears on her
and
wrist?
the right equipment. But there are upsides to that. Like, you know how compasses are just fundamentally a little disappointing? They always point north, and
Yes.
that is super useful, don't get me wrong. But wouldn't it be better if they pointed where we're going instead? Oda
Yes.
found a way to fix that. Every island on the Grand Line has its own magnetic field,
So,
regular
that's where you're gonna go.
compasses just
Yeah.
cut it here. The only way to navigate is with a log pose.
That's the one, a log
programmable
pose. I'm
compass
terrible
that
with
can
remembering
attune
names
to
for
the
stuff.
Specific magnetic frequency of any island by spending a variable amount of time in a nearby port. The cumulative effect of these details is that the Grand Line is kinda one massive stage select screen.
Yeah.
Strings of isolated islands connected by
Let's make
log
video
pose,
game references.
Each one totally distinct from the last in climate, culture, and ecology. Each new place can be whatever the heck Oda wants it to
Yeah,
be,
it can.
basically. So long
And that's
as
what
fits
makes it
on an
amazing.
Island, any concept is plausible in this setting. And what an island even is can be a very fungible concept. It is a truly limitless world building setup.
What
Though the
7
Straw Hats
is a very
do
interesting
start
place.
out in fairly conventional territory. The Alabasta saga takes them through a Wild West themed island full of bounty hunters.
Well, those
in the sky
cactuses with all
before
the
depositing them on little
gravestones
gardens
almost interesting. Oh, the
lost
giants were
world,
cool as well.
Ancient beasts where two old Viking giants brawl to a
They were
draw
class.
on a daily basis to settle their ancient beef. But on a basic level, it's cowboys and dinosaurs. Simple, classic stuff. These first two arcs are more tone-setting pieces than anything else. They establish that unscrupulous humans can be just as big a threat as
Baroque
the elements
works.
on these wild
Oh,
seas.
mate.
Show us how far the
That was
Baroque works
class.
conspiracy reaches, and drop hints about the land of giants, Elbaf, which will come up later and
Yeah.
serves as an aspirational legend in its own right for Usopp. We spend quite a bit more time in the next two locations, getting to know their inhabitants and learning their local history. Alabasta especially is as vividly realized a setting as you will find.
The Alabasta rap was so
But
good.
The Drum Kingdom has its own lengthy history too.
Jobber.
This saga also does a ton to flesh out the Devil Fruit power system by subdividing the fruits into 3 classes. Elemental Logia fruits being the most powerful,
Yep.
Paramecias, which give general random superpowers, generally being the least, and Zoan fruits,
Zoan, where they can
one
turn
that
into
turn
animals
you
and that.
into a furry,
Yeah.
sitting somewhere in the middle. Also, the ancient crone Dr. Correja's eternally rockin' bod may be, at least in part, a product of hockey, but that's jumping into theory territory. All of that is absolutely fascinating. Do not get me wrong. I could fill a whole video essay talking about any of these topics, but what I would rather talk about right now are all the critters we meet while we're learning all those details.
Cool.
Because in addition to just being generally great at world building, Oda
Everywhere
is
looks different.
really,
The building designs are just like
really
wow,
good
and
at
just
cooking
oh
up
yeah, the long
critters.
animals.
Big critters, small critters, cute critters.
I feel like
tiny
animals are
funny
definitely
critters.
important with
There
this
are
because
so
like the
many
way
delightfully
Luffy can
strange
talk to them and that,
animals
and
adorning
Roger
the
was able
pages
to
of this manga.
hear the Neptunians and that as well as Luffy was nice. Like
network runs on various breeds of radio-sensitive snail, and that's just the teeniest tip of the iceberg. Oda really lets his imagination run wild when he's...
he uses the animals a lot to like dictate like how
Some of
long
his critters
things
are
have
more
gone
on the
through
dangerous
flashbacks
side,
with the giant
like
snakes
pack
and that.
hunting gorilla rabbits chilling up on
And they end up
mountain,
siding with Luffy, don't they, those
crocodiles,
rabbits?
banana gators. Others are useful as transportation. Miss All Sunday drives a smaller gator, and at one point the Straw Hats scuttle across the desert on the back of a
The
giant
crab, yeah.
On that note, the super spot build
The duck was
is
cool.
just the greatest animal ever.
He's class.
Karoo is my boy, and I would both
Mate,
kill and
he works
die
so
for him.
hard to get
Don't
past all those
fucking
people.
test me. All this unique fauna and accompanying flora helps to sell the idea that we're truly in another world with its own ever-evolving ecosystem. And those riding animals in particular, along with other novel modes of transportation...
That was class, the
designed around
bubbles and that.
unique features
Oh,
of
it's
each
so
location
magical.
we visit,
It is magical.
Allow Oda to explore how natural history affects and intersects with human history. Each civilization we find on the Grand Line is fundamentally shaped by the geography it occupies and the unique means by which people navigate that terrain,
Yeah.
be it with man-made tools or indigenous animals, in much the same way that cars and horses have shaped our civilization.
Definitely, because we travel around on land.
Alabasta is a prime example. Camels are the lifeblood of its trade and transportation networks,
They're in the desert.
while the swifter riding ducks allow the nation's military
Oh,
to reach places
this is
faster
amazing.
if needed. And the fact that everything is so spread out and hard to reach in Alabasta is exactly what allows Crocodile to hide his operation there. It's not just the geography and history of these places that makes them so interesting. It's also the volatile political situations we're thrust into.
Yes, it's always very interesting to see where the conflict is and that.
Alabasta and the Drum Kingdom in states of revolution. One provoked by a despot's disregard for his people,
Ugh.
the other motivated by misinformation. King Cobra of Alabasta sincerely wants what's best for his people.
Yes, he
but
does.
not at the expense of neighboring islands who might suffer droughts themselves if he used dance powder to bring the rain.
Oh,
back
of course,
to
yeah,
his
you can
land.
use it, but then,
And
yeah.
Crocodile uses this conflict to drive a wedge between him and his needy
Yeah, and then makes himself look like a hero and that, doesn't he? He's like, whoa. But he's
Cobras
doing stuff in the
consider it
background
nature
because he's
marks
mean.
him as an exception among the allied leaders of the world government, then Waphole is the rule that exception proves. He is a gluttonous, greedy,
And he's just come back when I'm reading it, the Reverie bit. I was just like, that's class.
In this case, it's
I thought he was just
unparalleled
gone.
medical expertise, and uses them to control his people in turn. To him, they're all just disposable tools.
Yeah.
Yet for a
That he
long
can
time,
use
those
and-
people are largely complacent in the face of that unfairness because at least their leader protects them from the dangers of the outside world. It's only after one of those dangers arrives at their doorstep and Waphole turns tail that they begin to see the truth. And this reflects the general attitude we see among the citizens of just about every island under world government occupation, from the East Blue Boonies to Sabaudi Archipelago.
Oh my god.
Ordinary people are easily
Kuma.
applied by Navy propaganda because it reassures them that they live in a safe and, most importantly, just world. But if people like Waphole are calling the shots, then that obviously can't be the whole story.
No,
And
it
with every
cannot.
step the Straw Hats take through the Grand Line, the hypocrisy and deception behind that so-called justice becomes increasingly clear. Crocodile is by far the worst villain we've met so far. Jaded, condescending, he kills without hesitation anyone.
I mean,
who gets
come
in
on,
his way.
Doflamingo.
Them, in which case he'll torture them.
He is pretty lethal, Crocodile, though, at the time.
He's a cruel, unscrupulous monster.
Mm.
And yet, he has the full full support of the world government
because he's a warlord of the sea.
The Shichibukai. It's only when he's actively engaged in sedition against that government that he needs to hide any of his crimes.
Yeah. So it's like, as long as it's not affecting the Navy, it's fine. It's like, okay, how's that?
Bounty hunting on the side. The 7 warlords of the sea are allowed to get away with
a lot.
Well, basically anything they want, including murder.
Yeah.
While Hancock sustains her island's population by plundering with impunity, though she doesn't actually need anyone's permission because she is beautiful. Don Quixote do Flamingo runs a thriving slave market, and Gecko Moria routinely kidnaps random seafarers
I hope he comes
his ever-growing
back.
zombie army with zero consequence, while Luffy's bounty gains an extra load of berries every time he helps someone. It is a
Yeah, it's like he did good things, put his bounty up to cause him more trouble.
Government, because all they really care about is maintaining their own power. Justice is
There's so much going on in the background. All the reverie shows something. It's like,
which is pretty easy to do when you control the only global newspaper and can spin politically motivated public executions, wars you start, and genocides you
Marineford.
Buster calls you make any way you want.
Oh my god, the Buster calls as well. I forgot about that. Yeah. That's what destroyed Nico Robin's island, isn't it?
Guilty with no questions asked. And as for the stuff that can't be justified with justice, like the slave trade that's supposedly been outlawed, even though the ruling class still uses slaves for everything, well, that's where the plausibly deniable criminal empires of the Shichibukai come in really handy. Just as they live above their own laws, the world government has figured out how to overcome the natural laws of this world.
You got the celestial dragons as well, haven't you?
So specially built ships and even run stable trade routes through the dangerously unstable Grand Line thanks to their stockpile of eternal poses and control over the puffing Tom. These accomplishments are genuinely helpful to ordinary people in this world.
Yeah.
But all that's just a lucky side effect of their true function, which is to bring all the world's riches to one place where they can fuel the obscenely lavish
Those celestial
lifestyles
dragons, I
of the celestial
hate them,
dragons.
man. I hate them.
Perspective we're given across the first 600 chapters of One Piece, visiting this world's city streets, its seats of power, its black markets, and even its prison system, it becomes crystal clear that One Piece's entire economic and political apparatus is really a giant pyramid scheme.
It is. It just suits the government.
Of flabby, egotistical parasites who can't even do their own walking to live like gods, supported by tributes from shifty middle managers who live like kings, while an army of violent authoritarian thugs who think they're superheroes make sure nobody gets in their way. Now, one could read into that as a commentary on a lot of stuff. Oda clearly studied our own world to make his political and law enforcement systems feel believably complex, but I don't just dig his approach to systemic world building because it happens to validate my personal pro-felt agenda. The way the world government is set up, it makes for a very interesting antagonistic force and an engine for strong storytelling unto itself. Some of the best
It's nice to see that there's conflict within as well.
Who genuinely believe in justice, trying to reconcile their values with the reality of
like not everyone's brainwashed into just thinking the same thing.
In-universe propaganda that you can absolutely understand how the Admiralty and rank and file might buy into the lies and convince themselves that they are the real heroes. But at the same time, it's easy to grasp how less scrupulous soldiers like Spandam, Lucci, and Hannibal can be motivated by the power the system offers and the opportunities it affords them.
Yeah, like they can do stuff because it's just within, like, what they are meant to do. Oh, that's G8, isn't it?
Justifies the near 1,000 chapters.
I still need to watch that G8 arc at some point, but I think it's too late.
And while that problem has worldwide ramifications, at the same time, Oda does a great job of making it feel intensely personal. The world government stands between Luffy and the unparalleled freedom that is his goal.
Oh, yeah.
It directly threatens his friends through its persecution of Nico Robin and the Fishmen. It did some huge spoilers to his immediate family right before the time skip. And it's also in our way as readers who want to better understand this world. The Void Century is a period of history immediately preceding the founding of the world government 100 years ago that nobody is allowed to read, talk, or even think
But the
about.
ponteglyphs.
There are some inconvenient truths about the nature of the world and humanity that the celestial dragons would much rather stay buried.
Yes,
with
we
that
don't
history.
want anyone to know.
Literally buried. There are these massive, indestructible stone monoliths called poneglyphs scattered throughout the
Ponteglyphs.
Grand Line, each of which has a fragment of the true history etched into its surface. And one of the Straw Hats, Nico Robin, is a
She
rogue
can read it.
archaeologist
She
who's
can
trying
read
to
them.
track them all down so that she can learn that illegal history for herself. And maybe bring down the government.
There's so
As a
much
world-building
going on.
geek, I cannot help but stand for Nico Robin. Also, as an intensely horny person. Oh yes! My queen! I love you! But mostly, just from a writing perspective, she is a brilliantly conceived.
She's very interesting.
Sure, it's a little inordinate.
As soon as any
exposition
ponteglyph stuff pops up, it's like, ooh.
Just have a character
Come on, Nico
whose
Robin, have a look at it,
job is to
please.
find
We
out
need to
and
know.
explain lore. But when a world is this interesting and bizarre, it's totally believable that somebody in
Yeah.
it would just want to spend their whole life exploring and
Wanting to
finding
understand
out
it,
more
yeah.
about it. And seeing Robin's curiosity rewarded provides its own kind of wish fulfillment for me. When Sam Gamgee's all like, "Oh, Mr. Frodo, it would do me heart good to hear one more tale of the elves, sir," I relate to him super hard, because I am also thirsty for that elf lore. I want to learn more about this world.
Yeah,
and
I want to know
appreciate
everything,
that
man.
This naive country bumpkin is here to ask incredibly awkward questions so that we can get to that faster. Nico Robin kind of serves the
I mean,
same
I've only
function as
just now,
Warner,
is it
but
the
in a way that's
Zoark?
actually vital to
You
the
learn
plot,
about the
and
red
in some
ponteglyphs.
contexts makes her more
And
important than
it's like,
Lucy
what?
himself.
And then they lead
It
to
is always fun to
that
watch her
place
run
which
off
leads
and
to
nerd
One
out
Piece.
over
It's
the
like,
history of the
okay.
places the Straw Hats visit, and nowhere was that more fun, for me at least, than when they visited Skypiea.
Oh, and it had the message from
love
Goldie Roger on it.
Skylands as a concept. Skies of Arcadia has one of my favorite aesthetics of any video game ever. There's just something deeply pleasing about the idea of sailing a ship through clouds. And Oda
Yeah, it
completely
looks
agrees with
cool,
that
doesn't it?
sentiment, because he goes absolutely ham in fleshing out this particular setting. Luffy shares in that excitement too. As soon as he realizes what the log pose pointing upward means,
That's so
he
cool.
is
It's like, we gotta go to the
all about those sky
sky.
islands and will stop at nothing to reach them. In pursuit of that goal, the Straw Hats visit a dinky little island bay called Jaya, which is occupied on one end by a pirate shantytown, while the other is mostly open jungle where an explorer named Mont Blanc Cricket has made his home. Or, well, half of a home, anyway.
And when you learn where the other half is, oh my god.
A legendary lost city of gold called Shandora that his ancestor
Nolan the
Liar
Liar.
claimed to have found on the island 400 years prior, though he couldn't find it again when he came back. After the Straw Hats help Cricket fend off some less friendly pirates, he agrees to outfit their ship, the Going Merry, with wings that
Yay.
will allow them to ride the Knock-Up Stream, a massive intermittently occurring ocean geyser.
And they just miss encountering Blackbeard. It's like, whoa.
The Straw Hats arrive in an entirely new world, the White Sea, comprised of extra dense clouds. As you'd expect, most of this sea has the properties of water, albeit a little bit less dense. It can support
Yeah, and then it has the,
waves
oh, well, the
similar to a ship,
things they
but not a
use to,
person
like,
swimming through.
takes in energy and then
But
releases
there
it and
are
stuff.
also islands of more solid cloud form on which a strange race of people with wings and dealy-boppers lives. These Skypians' entire way of life revolves around excavating various kinds of clouds with unusual properties and shaping them into more useful forms, supplementing this architecture with technology built using the remains of special cloud-dwelling shellfish called dials.
That's the
Kinda
one.
like how noise seashells are thought
Dials.
to hold the sounds of the ocean, the various dials
They do
of the
different
White
things.
Sea are able to store things like sound, fire, kinetic energy, wind, and even clouds. And conveniently, they can release their contents at any time with the press of a button. Transit, entertainment, and warfare in Skypiea all rely on this technology.
Yeah,
and
so
there's a
cool.
whole new learning curve the Straw Hats have to go
I love that
through
Nami
to
picks it up straight
figure out
away.
how to fight
Whoop.
with and against them. They're a particularly great boon to Usopp's arsenal.
Hell yeah, they
Anyway,
are.
You wouldn't think that there's much to fight over up here because the clouds are pretty abundant, but earthly materials like wood and rock are not. And there happens to be a massive jungle island called the Upper Yard just laying around on the clouds.
It's like, how did that get here?
Why don't they live on that island, you ask? Because it's been claimed by the Kami, a gang of self-proclaimed gods led by a Buddha-looking devil fruit user named Eneru.
He's
The
Eminem.
Kami demand worship from the Skypeans, and considering
I can't
Eneru
wait to find out what's
turned
going
into
on
a
with him.
and has
He
very
has to
hearing,
come back
they're
at some
not
point.
much of a position to decline or even
Those
complain.
front cover
So most of
story
them
like
just
pieces
accepted
with him
and
afterwards
served
is
the
just
Kami
so
without
interesting. It's like,
question.
what?
There is a separate rebel force who claim the Upper Yard as their ancestral homeland.
Oh,
and
it's
try
so
to fight
cool.
back against the Kami's occupation, but thus far they haven't really had much luck. Into all this sail the Straw Hats, and of course they immediately throw the whole place into chaos.
Yep,
by flying
everywhere they go, they get involved, and it's like, okay,
Luffy what to do.
oops.
Eventually, they do have to head to the Upper Yard because Nami, Robin, Zoro, Chopper, and the Going Merry get arrested for crimes against the Kami, and
Of
the
course.
only way to save them from execution is to complete the deadly trials of the Sky
Whoa.
which is much easier said than done because the Kami all possess a power called mantra that allows them to read the
They can
emotions
see
of
just
their
before.
opponents and predict their movements, which is secretly even more set up for the
It's,
eventual reveal.
yeah,
of
our
Haki,
first
a full
look at Haki, isn't it? Which I thought was
power
clever.
system
Yeah.
that does as much to define the back half of this series as the Devil Fruits do, if not more so. But here, it's just one more piece of the setting that, combined with Cloud's sky mines,
Because they're in the sky, so they
fire, and
know things
dials,
differently,
makes for
don't they?
some
Like,
very novel fights. Of course, no Straw Hat worth their salt would be content to just sit around waiting for rescue, so while Luffy, Usopp, and Sanji fight off the Kami, their captured companions go wandering into the jungle.
of course,
And
everyone
there,
has to get separated and go on their own little adventures.
They make a big discovery, the other half of Cricket's house.
Yes!
Turns out Noland wasn't a liar after all. There was, in fact, a city of gold on Jaya.
Ring that
It was
bell.
just lifted up into the sky along with most of the island by the knock-up stream sometime after he visited. All of that's explained in exhaustive detail during an
That
extensive
flashback is
which
incredible.
also fleshes out the culture of the Shandians, who
Yep.
are now stuck fighting to reclaim their home from Eneru. Their Mesoamerican-inspired civilization is every bit as complex and fascinating as that of the modern Skypians, and as Robin later discovers when she digs deeper into their history, it also has surprising ties to the Void Century. So to sum all this up, Oda managed to make angel-inhabited islands in the sky feel entirely plausible within the
Yeah.
context
It's like, alright, cool, whatever.
giving those
Yeah,
sky
that's
islands
believable.
their own cloud-based
Got its own
culture,
history, its own background.
complex
We've met people that are
religious
linked with
political
stuff.
history to build stories off
It's like,
of.
whoa.
He also connected them to the surface.
There you go,
in order
yeah.
to unexpectedly complete the arc of someone who seemed like a one-off background character when we first met him.
Yeah, and then it turns
for
out,
good measure,
oh.
he tied all of that into the biggest mystery of the
Hey,
series.
Roger was there.
All for what ultimately amounts to one last fun, carefree side adventure before the real One Piece really begins. In what other fictional universe could you say that about a story where the main character literally goes up to heaven to kick God's ass?
Yeah.
There really is nothing else out there like One Piece. Its world is just
Oh, Whitebeard, so
awe-inspiring
sick.
in its
Junpei.
sheer breadth, but also in its
Right.
depth. Somehow every corner of it is uniquely interesting. I know that Oda doesn't really think of everything, but he's a skilled enough illusionist to make it feel as though he has.
Yeah.
And he's a skilled enough
Well, didn't he
illustrator,
say that he knew how it was going to end,
especially with
like,
the assistance of his assistants
from the
filling
beginning
in
of writing it?
backgrounds, to make even the zaniest settings he imagines feel tangible and connected to all the rest
That's
of it.
Thriller Bark, isn't it?
One Piece's art style is as divisive as it is distinctive. A lot of Western otaku, in particular, dismiss it.
Oh, what was
out of
that guy's
hand,
name?
probably because it
Because he
reminds
gets
them
known,
too
he gets
much of cartoons for
accidentally
kids they can't
recognised as
even
Sanji, doesn't he?
I know that was what kept me off the series for the longest time until I got over myself and grew up. But even more than his obsessive attention to detail or his passion for natural and human history, that style is what allows Oda's approach to world building to work as well as it does. It's the foundation on which all of the series' kinetic, physics-defying fights are built, and the glue that holds all these wild ideas and aesthetics together. One Piece isn't just a manga that looks kinda cartoony, it's a manga set in a cartoon world.
Yeah.
A place where animals can talk if nobody tells them they're not supposed to. Things get heavier the bigger they look, even when they're literally full of air. Punch strength is determined mostly by wind-up distance.
Yeah.
Usopp's nose can double as a Pinocchio reference and convenient carrying handle, because people's appearances comically reflect their inner selves, but also that's just what their physiology is like. Simultaneously, this is a place where millions upon millions of complex human beings with their own faults and strengths, dreams and misconceptions have lived full lives, built families, and died across centuries and millennia. Even as his characters follow physical laws that only really make sense within the flat confines of a page.
Yeah, like, that's so much stuff that just doesn't actually make sense in the real world, but come on. Come on.
Three-dimensional space, paying heed to perspective.
Yo.
So that every moment of action.
I saw a meme the other day where it's that one on the left where it's like, when you thought everything was gonna be okay.
Grounded, realistic, written, and visual storytelling sensibility with heightened stylistic unreality makes even impossible places like Skypiea, Ennis Lobby, Fishman Island, and Impel Down seem real, like you could just jump through the panel and be there. It allows for serious, weighty stories about lawful injustice, discrimination, slavery, and the dangers of theocracy to be told within those spaces without feeling out of place. And it allows for stories like that to exist alongside some absolute nonsense without.
Yeah, I can take your shadow, and then I can, like, eat it, and I can turn it into something else, and I can do... All the animals are long.
For a brief but thorough homage to wacky races and the Laugh Olympics. There's a whole 100-man crew.
Yeah, it's not very long at all, is it? But it's quite fun.
Complete with their own Dick Dastardly and Captain Foxy, who keeps accidentally helping the good guys every time he tries to cheat. This arc isn't
Catch the
all fun and
pigeon.
games. Important setup is sprinkled throughout it. Aokichi's introduction at the end gives us our first taste of the real power of an
Yeah, the
evil
admirals are
Backfight is
not
an
to be
important
scoffed
piece
at.
of pirate culture that establishes the saga's themes of villains bending the rules to their advantage and testing the Straw Hats' bonds, and the tide that gently recedes from Long Ring Long Land every year is the same tide that hits Water 7 not so gently as the annual Aqua Laguna. But, for the most part, this is a slice of pure comedy relief sandwiched between the incredibly heavy climax of one saga and the incredibly heavy everything.
Oh, Nico Robin.
An opportunity for Oda to bust out hilarious gags, character designs, and combat concepts that wouldn't work in any other context.
No.
It really stretches the idea
But
of
Luffy's got the afro on, man. There you are.
and unexpected directions, but it doesn't tear or break it. At least not in the manga. The anime does really push it with the filler. In its original form, at least, the Davy Back fight still feels fundamentally in step with the rest of the One Piece universe.
Yeah, I'm so glad I'm reading the manga only, because I've heard a lot of complaints about the pacing with the anime.
Mask, lipstick, and heels for a nurse, and makes him pratfall face first into a pit full of swords. You don't really question it. You just laugh and accept it.
It's just funny.
A small, goofy part of this grand adventure. Because, come on, you've already seen giant Vikings wrestling before an audience of dinosaurs, countless bit villains and henchmen who look like action figures.
Yeah.
And by this point, several hundred chapters worth of Usopp and Chopper's goofy faces. This extra layer of silliness just fits as a natural escalation of all that, in the same way that Luffy punching out a despotic god with a 10-ton superconductive metaphor for his own
Absolutely
universe
amazing.
was a natural escalation of 300 chapters worth of increasingly desperate battles.
Yeah.
If One Piece didn't look like One Piece, though, it simply would not have worked. And this artistic versatility also makes possible the absolute pinnacle of the pre-time skip series, in my opinion, Thriller Bark. For 48 glorious chapters, the manga transforms into Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island.
I like Thriller Bark.
Its heroes to be stalked
A few
through the
people
spooky halls of a haunted castle,
I've noticed are a bit like,
all their way through the undead
about it, but
forests and a creepy countryside
I like it.
that surrounds it, in a plot that builds incrementally toward probably the best all-hands-on-deck fight in the series so far. Dark humor,
Oh yeah, they
the
do all
tense,
really go in
unnerving
teamwork,
atmosphere make
like
this
Malark on
stretch of
that.
story insanely memorable, and all it takes to sell the shift in tone
And then,
is the addition
isn't the end of Thriller
some
Bark
heavy laughs to the
Sanji's
book's shape.
nothing happened
Now,
moment?
Thriller Bark probably contributes the
Nothing at
least
all.
of any One Piece saga to the series' actual world building, even as it explores the infighting of the Shichibukai and their
Yeah, we get two Warlords. It's like,
it's
oof.
really just building on groundwork laid way back in Alabasta. But its ragtag supporting cast of zombies and shadowless villagers pulled together from across all the Great Blue Seas serves as a long overdue reminder that there is still life and death going on outside the Grand Line. And the mere existence of a place
Oh mate, that character design is so sick for Brooks like Shadow.
One Piece takes place in a wide and wonderful world where
Froggy.
anything is both possible and plausible. And Oda reminds us of that infinite possibility every time he takes the Straw Hats off the beaten path
So
to
stupid.
a crazy place like this. He's also keen to include reminders outside the story proper in the gorgeous and often hilarious color illustrations of each chapter. Half of these are just silly sight gags that introduce us to even funnier and more adorable critters, but in the other half, they follow their own continuity.
Yeah, they're like actually showing us stories of where characters have gone. It's like, oh, so when you see them pop up, it makes sense. I love it.
Past arcs have been up to since they and the Straw Hats parted ways. Often these silent side stories take us to as yet unseen corners of the Grand Line and beyond, to kooky islands we may one day visit with the Straw Hats, and ones we'll likely never
The
see
moon!
again.
The moon!
If the place doesn't come up in the main story, we don't learn much about it beyond what would fit into a travel brochure. But given how meticulously Oda crafts the places we do get to see up close, that's enough. I mean, have you visited every interesting place in this world?
No, that's
Just
very true.
knowing those islands and their inhabitants are out there somewhere. That Gidatsu's gotten into the onsen business, and Eneru's settled in the long-forgotten ancestral city of the Skypians and Shandorans on the motherfucking moon.
Yeah, there we go.
With an army
Come on.
of robots at
Come
its
on,
disposal.
when's that coming back?
Makes the whole One Piece universe feel that much more real and alive. Because truly convincing world building is as much about what's over the horizon as it is what lies within it. I could keep going, and going, and going. I'm sorry if this all seems a little rambly and all over the place.
It's fine, because
but
it
it's impossible
can
to
be that
discuss
way
the
when you
craft
talk about
behind
One Piece.
Piece's
There's so
world
much to talk about.
even at a surface level, without also talking about its plot, its characters, its combat, and its art. All of it is interconnected.
Oh,
Sometimes
Wamu.
it take Oda hundreds of chapters to solve a mystery, but every question about this world does have an answer somewhere. More importantly, those answers can change because this world is alive, in motion.
Kuma, man, I feel so bad for him recently. Like,
just like ours.
the way
This
the
manga
Celestial
is
Dragon's
an
dealing with him right now, where I'm up to.
absolute masterclass in effective and efficient fantasy storytelling. So definitely stay away from it if you know what's good for you. It's already got me. I'm about to reread a whole shit ton of it again
Nice.
to cover Alabasta's story structure, Water 7's tone shift, the Summit War, and probably I'm going to have to defend that Thriller Bark is peak One Piece statement now that I've said it. And I've still got about
I won't say it's peak,
400
but
chapters
it's
of new
it was good.
to go. So please go share this video with all of your friends to warn them before it's too late that One Piece is too fucking good. It'll destroy us all. Beware!
He's not wrong though. He's not wrong. Like, I've seen a lot of you comment on my when I'm watching the reviews from Totally Not Mark, and you're all very surprised that I've just finished the whole Cake Island. And it's like, I can't put it down. I have to now because I'm on Wano and I'm scared about what I'm gonna catch up to, and like I don't want to have to wait. But yeah, that was dead good. Like, the world building in One Piece is just absolutely incredible. He's not wrong, and it's just like, One Piece is just, so good. So good. I'm glad I managed to check that out. I could have actually checked that out a while ago, actually, now that I look at where he got up to, but hey-ho, that's cool. I don't want anything spoiled for me, that's fine. I'll probably check out some more Too Spooky videos, actually, in a bit, once I get part through Wano, because apparently all the videos and that people have done, it's like, once you get into Wano, spoiler free, so cool. Yeah, that was awesome, and thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video I upload, the link is in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all there to help support the channel. Greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for that, guys, and thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos, and I'll see you guys next time.